Hey there friends, how's it going today? So a quick video here where I want to update you on a bunch of new lessons that are now available over on my site. Now these are all in my practical music theory course, but they are all under a certain theme within that course, and it has to do with chords and music theory, right? Now even if the idea of music theory is something that you try to avoid or are not really interested in, I would still encourage you just to check these out and grab those cheat sheets if nothing else, because I would wager that at least one of them will be very helpful for you to have on standby, whether you print it out or save it to your device or tack it to your wall, whatever you want to do, right? So the brief overview of what we're going to tackle here, right, are things having to do with chords. One of them, probably the most helpful one, I would say, is the most common chords in each key. This looks not only at those chords that are built with each key's major scale, but also those secondary dominant and those borrowed chords that don't typically belong but are used so often. And this guide will help you basically figure out which key a song is in, as well as transpose a song to a different key if you want to look for easier chords, for example, right? So that's a really helpful one, video lesson to accompany it. I also have one looking at a chord formula, right? The chord formula guide. This is a cheat sheet showing you all the different types of chords, right? Major, minor, you've diminished is in there as well. Seventh chords as well. Major seventh, minor seventh, dominant seventh. And for each of these, it's going to show you the recipe, the formula of intervals that gives us that chord. So if you've ever been interested in figuring out and remembering and learning what's the difference between, a half diminished chord versus a diminished seventh chord, or a major seventh versus a dominant seventh, or you just kind of want to have, sus chords or power chords explained as far as how they work, this is going to be one you want to check out for sure. I have the same information actually grouped in two totally different ways. Page 1 shows you kind of the things you use most often at the top, the more rare ones at the bottom, right? Whereas page 2 will show you the same inventory of chords, but grouped more by, type of chord, I guess. Triads at the top, right? The 3-note chords, 7 chords in the middle, and then below that, some of the other ones you use, the sus chords, power chords, add 6, add 9, that sort of thing, right? Another one I have is a chord tone guide. Now, chord tones refer to the individual notes that make up any given chord, right? So say you take an E major 7, right? And say you need to know, for whatever reason, what the notes are in that chord, right? Maybe you're soloing or you're working on some scales and you want to land on a note that is in that particular chord. This is a quick, handy reference guide where it shows you the most common root notes, right? C, G, D, A, E, F, and B. And for each of those root notes, it shows you across the top the different common chord types, right? Major, minor, major seventh, minor seventh, dominant seventh, and also the diminished ones are in there as well. And again, this is going to be really helpful to have as a reference guide for you to look at, have on standby. If you're ever in that pinch where you can't remember what are the notes in B flat 7 again, and you're having to do weird mental gymnastics, this will kind of help you out with that, okay? So that's available for you as well. And of course, there is a video lesson if you want to learn about some more use cases about why chord tones are helpful to be aware of as well, right? Video lessons exist for all these. 2 more I made. One is one that looks at stacked thirds and this idea of how so many of the chords we build, especially the chords within any key, whether they're 3-note triads or they're 4-note 7th chords, are simply built by stacking thirds on top of each other using that key's scale. It's as simple as that. This is the concept that I found perhaps the most eye-opening and sort of, it helped connect so many dots for me, right? Up until then, theory was all these disparate, rambly ideas like paths in the woods that lead to totally different places where I didn't really understand the value. But this one concept helped kind of like bring all the paths back together in a way where everything seemed simpler, if that makes sense. So that's going to be a really helpful one for you as well, again, with a video lesson. And then the last one I have is a bit of a fun one. The PDF looks like this when it's not printed out. And what this one is it's a PDF that's designed to be cut up, right? And what you can do is take the strips that you cut up, and it shows you basically there's these like note strips at the bottom, kind of like a number line. And on top of those, you can put down any of these little chord strips, right? You can move these so that the root note is aligned over whatever specific root note you want. And then you can see the notes that are in that chord. So you might realize that all these things are kind of looking at the same topic, but they're looking at it from slightly different angles, right? Whether you want to see for yourself with this cutout strip and paper, hey, I understand music teachers tell me an A7 chord has these notes, but how do they figure that out? I don't understand intervals, right? These chord strip thing will help really just concretize that sort of thing for you. Likewise, chord tones might be something that is the lens you've been missing as far as making sense of it. Or maybe it's the stack thirds, or maybe it's a chord formula guide, or more likely it's a couple of these things at some point down the road, whether it's sooner or a bit later. That's the way theory and all this stuff can work, right? Is we can sort of take in the information, and it's like planting seeds, right? Sometimes the seeds grow immediately and thrive. Other times they take a while to kind of come into their own. But I encourage you just to check these out. Right? I spent a lot of time on these, and these have been topics I've really wanted to have covered on my site in a sort of cohesive way, where all the lessons are kind of building off one another. They're all in an easy to find place. So you can find all these over at songnotes.net in my practical music theory course, right? They're the section on the far left there. If you look at the sidebar, it's going to show you, chords and music theory. That's where they all are. There's a discussion forum link on each page you can use to discuss it or ask questions or share feedback. I got some great feedback from Michael showing me the ways that within a few hours he had taken the strips that I had put together and put together, number one, some great advice, and also a great hack for using one of the Home Depot kind of paint stirrer things to kind of have a note strip that was more manageable to work with. So really, really awesome place the forum is. If you're not in there, do check it out, right? You just you have to log in once. Just use your login info from songnotes.net that you already have, and then you're there, and it's a great way to sort of share, ask questions, that sort of thing, right? But yeah, they're all over there. And another bonus or just additional thing I've been working on is if you check out my beginner chord guide, that's a separate course as well. I've added a few videos and redone a few at the beginning of that course, just because I want to really give a better setup for that course that was kind of lacking when I launched it last year. So check that out. I'll link to all this in the whatever page or email you're viewing this on. Check the description below because you'll find links to all this stuff. So I have a few songs and sort of typical lessons in the works that I've already sort of been working on and have ready to almost go, but I wanted to get these out and give you this roundup to wrap up March and as we get into April, and it's already the end of the first week. So I'm going to head off now. I hope you're well wherever you are. I'm in Austin, and the eclipse is coming on Monday. Kids are off of school, their soccer practice is canceled. I hope the weather clears up, and wherever you are, if you are indeed anywhere near the path of totality, I hope you have clear skies and can enjoy the eclipse on Monday. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, thanks as always. Take care and bye-bye.